Welcome back. D.C. is getting a surprising boost in its quest for statehood. Over the weekend, talk show host John Oliver spent a big chunk of his HBO show focused on D.C.'s decades-long push. Our D.C. bureau chief, Sam Ford, has more.
There are 50 states in total, and we'll sing their names with glee. But there's one place that gets shouted, and it's Washington, D.C.
HBO comedian John Oliver took on the issue of D.C.'s taxation without representation and other ills on his show, and people here loved it.
I thought it was pretty hilarious. I thought it was really well done, and I'd kind of like to see if maybe something happens.
Think about it. They pay federal taxes and fight in wars, and yet have no member of Congress who's able to vote on their behalf.
This is our headquarters.
The folks at D.C. Vote who are campaigning for statehood say the show came to them for facts on Congress and anti-D.C. Congress members.
John Oliver has a brilliant way of bringing humor to complex, outrageous, absurd political situations.
In fact, when the Dalai Lama came to visit, he wondered why a small pocket of people living in the world's champion of democracy lacked full voting rights, calling it quite strange, quite strange.
Anything that gets the word out there is a good thing because most people don't understand the situation we're in.
So with his 51-star flag and kids' choir, they sang for D.C. and its laws.
What's a solution, you think?
Let them have gun laws, let them have weed.
Why not? And if you're totally convinced that there should be just 50 states,
Well, then let's go kick out Florida, because no one thinks they're great.
Sam Ford, News Channel 8.
Joining us now, Kim Perry, head of D.C. Vote, and John Burch. He's with Neighbors United for D.C. Statehood. Welcome to you both. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks
for having us.
Michael Brown makes a great point. Anything that gets the word out, that tells people just what the situation is a plus, because many Americans are clueless.
That's right. You know, we have to first give credit where credit is due, and I don't know if D.C. residents know this, but the reason last week tonight with John Oliver even covered Washington, D.C. is because if you remember, they did a segment on the U.S. territories being disenfranchised, but they didn't include Washington, D.C. We, on behalf of D.C. Vote, wrote a letter to HBO and the show saying, hey, you missed a really important jurisdiction here, and we took it to Twitter, and there was a fury of people online who said you forgot about the District of Columbia. So they came back and responded to that outrage on Twitter and said, we're going to do a segment on D.C. and spend some time really parsing through all of the dynamics of D.C.'s colonialism.
What's the value? What's the potential value, Josh?
Well, it gets the word out for free. I mean, it gives. John Oliver has a national audience. It's an audience that we would have to pay to reach, and he has a unique way of getting that message out. I might be more dry and bland and maybe really heartfelt, but comedy is a great way to communicate a message, and he did that. He got people to laugh, but also to think and be introspective. And he also inspired people. If you look online and you see the number of people that are posting on their Facebook page or posting on their Twitter account, the reach is far greater than just his national viewing audience, because I don't have HBO. But all of a sudden, late Sunday night, people are sending me texts and emails and saying, did you see John Oliver? And that's what we need, a great way to convey a message to a large number of people who don't know about our plight and don't know about our status.
I just wanted to add on to that. Look, he's got over 1 million viewers who saw that episode on Sunday night. It doubled itself. There are now 1.2 million viewers on the YouTube video of it. We put out ads right after it aired and started a national petition, so thousands of people are signing on. We want to move people from learning about the issue to action so that we can mobilize them over time to really put a dent in this issue.
The segment was long, it was well researched, it was funny, so it came at you with both barrels blazing, if you will, the substance part and the humor part to make it really kind of a fun and entertaining and educational segment. And in some ways, Josh, the issue presents itself, it writes itself, because here you have a country whose founding is tied to the notion of representation, of full citizenry for all, and yet in the nation's capital itself, the people are second-class citizens, and it's really sort of a mystery as to why that is. What's happening in terms of grassroots organizing and strategizing to change the city's plight?
Well, I think the first thing is from this John Oliver piece, it wasn't a beginning, but it's a continuation of a process. But I think what we need to do is we need to celebrate it and be thankful to Mr. Oliver for what he did, but it's not an end. What people need to do now is take that piece that he did and post it on their Facebook pages so that they can educate their friends and relatives in Maine and in Connecticut and Rhode Island and Wyoming and let them know that our cause is an American cause. We aren't asking for special treatment anymore. We have been treated special and different than every other American citizen from our inception, and we are tired of special treatment. We want equal treatment. That's what the statehood cause is about. That's what we're fighting for. And I think the other thing we need to do that John Oliver's piece was great, that we as activists need to do is we need to make this personal. I was born and raised in the district, and I didn't get active in the statehood movement until I had children. And I will be damned if I'm going to sit back and let my children be treated unequally when they turn 18. And I think that a lot of us in the District of Columbia need to take ownership of this movement, and we need to fight for it. Mr. Oliver did us a favor, but we need to take ownership of it and move forward.
The passion is always what drives successful civil rights struggles, when it's personal, when it's real, when it creates, frankly, some anger.
That's right. That's right. I was just going to say, the self-determination in the city is strong. There is not a doubt that district residents want the equality we deserve. We now have to take it out to people in the states because they are the ones ultimately who will have to speak on our behalf. They've got to be the one to ask their lawmakers and members of Congress to vote on our behalf and to change this law for us. So the embarrassment that we saw in that 17-minute John Oliver piece is the embarrassment we've got to continue somehow to really show clear examples of this congressional interference and how it plays out, that it isn't just the injustice of our rights, but it's, you know, the constant meddling for other political gain that we're having to grapple with day in and day out.
Statehood is the big push. It is the heavy lift. I know you're working multiple tracks simultaneously. What are you doing in terms of short-term efforts, things that can bear fruit in the shorter term?
Absolutely. One is going out and building a national campaign, and that starts with state networks. We feel strongly that advocates in the states can help us. They've got lists, they've got the ability to mobilize, they've got the ability to organize on our behalf at the state level to get directly to these lawmakers.
But
there are legislative things we can do.
I probably didn't phrase the question right. In terms of budget autonomy, in terms of fighting off
That's just where I was going.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
But we need the people even to push that. Budget autonomy has always been on the table. We've showed great self-determination in the city to get to budget autonomy by modifying and altering our home rule charter. But that only takes us so far, right? We need a congressional bill to really get the budget autonomy we need and control of our local tax dollars, but we need folks out in the states still to help us do that. So this national campaign track, in addition to lobbying for control of our budget, control of our laws, ultimately is going to get us where we need to go to become a state.
We have about a minute left. Does the movement suffer from an excess of politeness? Is there a reluctance to be a little in your face? You look at successful civil rights movements over time, whether it's women, African Americans, gays, whoever, the fight for HIV medication, there's been an in-your-face component, not saying, obviously, violence or disrespectful, but assertive.
Yeah, I mean, we can be polite and effective. We can be polite and assertive. We have the ultimate lobbying advantage. We are all within a walk, a bicycle ride, or a metro ride of the U.S. Capitol. We could be mobilizing 1,000 people a day to essentially shut down the Capitol legally. We would be exercising our First Amendment right to petition our government on our grievances, but we're not doing that. So I think you can be polite and forceful and effective and powerful. We just haven't actually tapped into that energy yet, and I think this piece that John Oliver did, I think, really is going to ignite more people that want to join this effort.
Oh, just a couple seconds left. We're entering a political phase. Arguably, we're already in it. Is there any chance of D.C. being part of the mix, part of the discussion?
For 2016, you mean? Absolutely. We've got to get questions in the hands of supporters in caucus states. Absolutely. Yes, we can do that.
Kim Perry, Executive Director of D.C. Vote. John Burch is with Neighbors United for D.C. Statehood. If you haven't seen the full John Oliver video, check it out online. It's fantastic. Thank you both for coming in. Good to have both of you here. Back with more News Talk in a moment.